Okay. Good evening, my dear students. Yesterday we started
Sir,
the defining properties of organisms. Yeah, out of that, we completed growth and reproduction. And last statement out of reproduction. In the case of unicellular organisms, what is the difference between growth and reproduction? So, in the case of unicellular organisms, what is the difference between growth and reproduction? Generally, these two events are completely different. But in the case of unicellular organisms, growth and reproduction are mutually inclusive events in unicellular organisms. This statement is very, very important. So, how to understand what is growth and reproduction are mutually inclusive events in unicellular organisms, means both are same. Inclusively same, mutually or mutually inclusive events means 100% same. So, in unicellular organisms, what is the meaning of this statement? So, reproduction and growth. Simplest statement for that one are same in unicellular organisms. So, how to justify this statement? For example, take bacteria. For example, this is a bacterium, a bacterial cell or bacterial organism. So bacterium is unicellular organism. Okay, so bacterium is unicellular organism. Okay, this is one cell, one organism, 1:1 ratio. Binary fission that involves cell division only. And the two cells are produced. Cell 1, cell 2. And bacterium 1 means organism 1 and organism 2, bacterial organism. So here two events are taking place. One, increase in the cell number is growth. So here you can take a increase in cell number. Increase in cell number. Definitely growth. Second one, increase in the number of organisms. Increase in organism number. And that is reproduction. Okay, so within one event, one process, both happened. Organisms doubled, cell number also doubled. So, what is the meaning of this? Is it reproduction or growth? Increase in cell number, growth. Increase in the number of organisms, reproduction. So, mutually inclusive events, both are same. Synonyms, both are synonyms. There is no difference. Both are synonymous. And same statement in the case of multicellular organisms. Growth and reproduction. Reproduction are mutually exclusive events. Exclusive, separate. Exclusive means separate. Okay, so mutually exclusive events means both are different. Both are not same, are different in multicellular organisms. Okay, so growth and reproduction are same. Simplest sentence. Same in the case of unicellular organisms. We can't differentiate it. In this case, how to differentiate growth and reproduction? Not possible. But what about in animals? For example, take human beings. Division of cell into two daughter cells itself is not a reproduction. Production of a new organism from zygote is a reproduction. So in all multicellular organisms, both are different events, mutually exclusive events, separate events. But here they are not separate, one only included in one event. Okay, so see the difference.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, to define growth, we have considered two criteria, no? Increase in cell number and the increase in mass. But in this
Yeah.
process, mass is not increased, no?
Take a increase in cell number. Increase in cell number. Cell number increased or not?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this thing is regarding comparison between growth and reproduction. Same events are not. That is a discussion. Whether it is a defining or not, that is a different event. See, we are discussing here one cell into two cells. Cell number increased. One organism into two organisms. The condition is here both are taking place in one event only. Yeah, that's why both are same events. But in the case of a multicellular organism, both are different. Cell division different, that is for growth and development. Reproduction, formation of gametes, fertilization, zygote, and development of new individual, that is reproduction. Okay, so cell itself is organism, organism itself is cell. So that's why both are completely same event, synonyms. Okay, so these two in the case of organisms, so-called events are synonyms. Okay, is it clear? So that is about the end of so-called growth and reproduction. And third one, metabolism. Okay, so there are two types of metabolic reactions. Already we discussed this one under the heading, the living state. Okay, so what about the definition of metabolism? Some of are all biochemical reactions which are taking place in an organism, collectively called as a metabolism, anabolic and catabolic reactions. Okay, right? So here, metabolism is exclusively and inclusively present in organisms only. So it is present in organisms only, and each and every organism is having metabolism. Otherwise, the organism is not able to survive. Definitely, it will die and reaching non-equilibrium. Reaching equilibrium, sorry, reaching equilibrium. Equilibrium means death of the organism. That is, go back to living state. There you will get what is living state, non-equilibrium, steady state, able to perform work. Okay, if metabolism is absent, definitely organism is going to approach a last funerals. Okay, so it is exclusive and inclusive of organisms only. No non-living object is having no non-living object with metabolic reactions. Of course, we are performing certain number of, for example, in organism. In the case of organisms, for example, only organism versus test tube. Organism A gives rise B and C. Okay, so there is some reaction, whatever the reaction. We can perform same reaction within the test tube. Test tube also able to produce A gives rise B and C. Okay, so even though the test tube is able to convert A into B and C, test tube should not be considered as a living object, but reaction is a living reaction, live reaction. Okay, so test tube is non-living object, even though it is able to perform concerned reaction. For example, test tube baby. Okay, zygote fertilization within the test tube. Zygote is live. That is in living condition. What about test tube? Is it a living object? Even though it is able to execute fertilization and formation of zygote within the test tube, we should not call a test tube as a biotic factor. Still, it is abiotic factor only. Okay, so reaction is a living one. So, without any exemption, without any obligations, metabolism is 100% a defining property of living organisms only. Both anabolic and catabolic reactions. Anabolism, a constructive reaction. Endergonic reaction. Catabolism, destructive reaction. Exergonic reaction. By means of these two, organism is able to survive. The dynamic state of a organism depends on metabolic reactions only. Of course, we are able to regulate that metabolic reactions outside the cell. Cell-free chemical reactions should not be the test tube or some other vessel which is able to perform or execute so-called reactions which are possible in living organisms. The test tube or the conical flask should not be considered as a living object, but reaction is the living one only. So metabolism is 100%. It is a defining property of living organisms. Okay, copy that one. Copy it, please.
Completed, sir.
Completed?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now I'm erasing the board. Please mute. Next, consciousness, fourth one. So what is a consciousness? Response. Response to the external stimulus is called as a consciousness or irritability. Irritability. Okay, so we're able, yeah, we can respond to the stimulus. What is that stimulus? That stimulus is that stimulating one.
Sir, body blur.
Blur.
No, sir, it's
No,
clear.
sir, it's clear.
Yeah, Wi-Fi. I'm getting Wi-Fi. It's
Sorry,
not
sir.
problem.
It's my
Check
problem.
for, yes, because I have full strength of signals. Okay, that stimulus. Here, stimulus is either a physical factor, maybe light or temperature, whatever it is, physical stimulus, or it may be a chemical stimulus, or it may be a biological stimulus. Okay, so definitely only living organisms, those which are having protoplasm, are able to respond to the concerned stimulus. But what about the non-living objects? They are not having consciousness. And one more thing, some questions are there. For example, patient is under coma and on ventilation, met with accident, brain dead. These are abnormal situations. So here we are discussing differences between living and non-living, and you have to consider that character under certain conditions only, not all abnormal conditions. So here defining property means the property or the character which we are observing under certain situations. Okay, so under hygienic conditions, under normal conditions only. For example, patient dead, living or non-living means he is dead, non-living only. And they are abnormal things, very rarest things. So usually we have to consider that character under ideal conditions only. So that death is not ideal condition. So the character under which we are observing that character is very, very important. Okay, coma, is he having consciousness? For example, during night time, all we are sleeping. Okay, no consciousness. No, we are sleeping. That is a rest mode, or sleeping is one type of physiological activity. During that, the organism is taking rest. Rest should not be considered as unconsciousness. So those are abnormal events. Okay, right? So definitely consciousness is a defining property of living organisms. So no non-living object, non-living object, no non-living objects are without consciousness. So conclusion, consciousness it's a defining character of organisms. There is no exemption. And one more thing, Self-consciousness. So which animal is with the self-consciousness or self-awareness?
Human.
Yeah, only human beings. Self-consciousness. Only human beings. Okay, so how to judge self-consciousness, self-awareness? See, self-administration, particularly humans are having self-administration early morning, get up, brush up, breakfast, after that, and finish your other works, bath and dressing, next lunch, dinner, hospitals, going to the school. See, which organism is having hospital, schools like this daily activities which we have been following? No organism is having this type of awareness. Just or not? So only human beings are having self-consciousness. So self-consciousness is a defining character. So it is a defining character of a human beings only. So it is defining character. Human beings only. No other organism is having this character. So now the big difference between other living organisms, those which are having consciousness, and human beings which are having consciousness or self-consciousness, is a dissimilarity between rest of the organisms and human beings. We are having self-consciousness. So overall, consciousness is a defining character of living organisms. Next, fifth one, interactions. Okay, so interactions. Interaction means definitely living objects are able to, means organisms are able to interact with others. So in the case of interactions, interaction among living things and among living, means between living individuals and with non-living also, with non-living also. So interactions are among living and living with non-living also. Here non-living is not interacting with us, we are interacting with that. So interactions among, better change it, interactions among living and interactions between living and non-living. We are interacting with non-living. Of course, you may question, Alexa, respond. Yeah, it is. It's not exactly responding. Just copying that one and sending a code to organize TV or something. Mobile, when you touch, it is responding means. So that is also the biotic factor. No, wrong one. So interactions. Interactions leads to what? Interactions leads to what? Interactions leads to emergent properties. Interactions leads to emergent properties or characters or evolved characters. Okay, so interactions leads to emergent properties. For example, you are interacting with textbook or concerned faculty or interaction with academics, for example. What will be the emergent property? You will get a medical seat, for example. So interactions are exclusive and inclusive of living organisms only. No non-living object is having interactions. For example, in your textbook, first one, properties or function of a tissue For example, take one tissue, whatever the tissue. Properties of a tissue not depends on do not depend on cells, but it depends on interactions among cells present in it. So properties of a tissue or function of a tissue simply depends on just individual cells involved in the formation of the tissue. No interaction. For example, you are a student with certain number of books, faculty, and concerned students. So the academic result of a student depends on just by possessing so-called textbooks, just faculty, and the question papers. No, it doesn't depend on so-called availabilities. It depends on how you are interacting with those textbooks, question papers, faculty. So academic progress of a student depends on interaction with faculty, interaction with the concerned textbook and materials or question papers and analysis. Just by posting all these events, are you able to get emergent properties? No. Interaction is required. If you are not interacting, definitely there will be no emergent property. Of course, some Ekalaviyas are there, but they are interacting with some other thing. Ekalaviya, who learned so-called archery, he practiced, interacted with so many things. Okay, so like that he commanded that so-called skill. So properties of a tissue depends on interactions among cells, but not on individual cell components. Next, second example. Properties of means functions of function of mitochondria or cell organelle. Cell organelle. Okay, so properties of a cell organelle, mitochondria or chloroplast or something. So properties and function of that cell organelle doesn't depend on individual components, individual chemicals. It depends on interactions among so-called chemicals. So functions of a cell organelle depends on interactions among chemicals present in it, but not by possessing so-called chemicals. For example, take a test tube. In a test tube, A chemical is present, B chemical also present. No interaction between A and B. Definitely there will be no C product. If interaction is present, A plus B gives rise to C. Or for example, A itself dropped into test tube. No interaction with external environment. No interaction with test tube. No interaction with other molecules. Means definitely A remains as A only. Conversion of A into a product is not possible without interaction. What is that interaction? A reaction, action and reaction. leads to emergent properties. So definitely interactions are exclusive and inclusive of living organisms only. No non-living object is having interactions, and that leads to emergent properties. So out of all these defining characteristics we selected, except growth and reproduction, remaining all metabolism, consciousness, interactions, emergent properties are exclusive and inclusive of living organisms only. No non-living object is having so-called characters. So with the help of these, we can say what is living. Particularly, of course, growth and reproduction also defining properties, but according to textbook, they are not considering those two as defining properties. Reason they are in sharing or absent in certain number of organisms. Okay, copy that. So that is about defining characteristics of living organisms with the help of which we can answer what is living. In your textbook, the main question was what indeed is life? ఏంటి life అంటే? That question is having two questions. First question, what is living as against non-living? Second one, what is the purpose of life? We can answer what is living as against non-living. Okay, so we can't answer, not easy to answer what is the purpose of life. Only philosophers, gurujis, gospel providers, they can explain what is the purpose of life. We can't. It is beyond our knowledge, beyond our textbook, and that is a devotional, God related question. God can answer it. We can't answer. Okay, copy that one. Copy it, please.
Sure,
Please mute. Yes.
sure. According to our textbook, then the organism with these three defining characters is said to be living.
No, just what about reproduction, growth? These two are also required. But according to your textbook, they explain like that.
So plants is not
Okay,
plants
Sagar.
are not having this
Uh.
consciousness. No, only in few plants we can see this consciousness, right?
No, plants also interacting. They are having consciousness means they are responding to the CO2. They are taking it or not. They are responding to the light. For example, take phototrophic movement. Phototropism, geotropism. Plant organs are able to grow towards sunlight. Trophic movements.
Sir, what
For example,
Yes,
as a interaction with external stimuli?
yeah, plants also interacting stimulus. They are interacting with the light. They are interacting with temperature. They are interacting with water. But it is not observable. We are not in a position to observe it, and it is not visible, but it is taking place inside. Okay, copy it. Completed?
Sir,
yes, sir.
Sir, on the spotlight.
What happened?
On the spotlight, sir.
Spotlight on cheyala.
Yes, sir.
Is it visible or not?
visible, sir.
What do you want actually?
ఇప్పుడు ఎవరైనా మాట్లాడితే ఈ మీరు
Sir,
చెప్పే బోర్డు
spotlight your camera, sir.
Spotlight option తీసేయమంటావా?
Sir, ఆన్ చేయమంటున్నారు సార్ స్పాట్లైట్ ఆప్షన్.
ఆన్ చేయమంటున్నావా? ఓకే, నెక్స్ట్ టైం చేస్తా. లేదు మరి ఎక్కడుందో ఆప్షన్ చెక్ చేసుకోవాలి ఒకసారి. ఓకేనా? బోర్డ్ అయితే విజన్ ఉంది. ఓకే, నెక్స్ట్ టైం చేంజ్ చేస్తాను. Okay, copied?
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so next one is okay. So in this universe, a number of kinds of organisms have been surviving. So existence of different kinds of organisms in this ecosystem collectively called as diversity, biodiversity. So actually it is called as biodiversity. Myriad of organisms, a number of organisms are present. According to your textbook, what about the number of kinds of species? Kinds of species. I think 1.7 to 1.8 billion given. Check it, how many? Swagat, physical quantity. 1.7 to 1.8 billion kinds of species are present. So that number collectively called as biodiversity. So a number of organisms are there. So how to study those organisms? Okay. So we have to study of all these organisms is very important for the welfare of human beings and the entire ecosystem also.
Sir, million is given, sir.
Million, yeah. That's why I asked you. Million. 1.7, 1.8 correct? Physical quantity? Yeah, okay. So study of all these organisms is very important for welfare of human beings and
Yes, sir.
ecosystem. Yeah, okay, thank you. For the welfare of human beings and ecosystem also. So how to study them? So we can study these organisms to study these organisms. In order to study organisms, we have to follow taxonomy. So taxonomy is well known to you. Taxonomy is systematic simply I'm writing classification of organisms. Okay, so in taxonomy, what are the aspects? What are the aspects of taxonomy? Means simply what are the steps present in taxonomy? Aspects of Taxonomy. First step is characterization, means preparation of data about characteristics of organisms. Okay, so preparation of morphological data, external visible data. What about the characteristics of organisms? Different kinds of morphological characteristics. So characterization is nothing but collecting information from the plant morphology, data from morphology. What is that data from morphology? Morphology means, for example, take plant, type of the root system, type of the leaf, shoot system. What about storage roots, storage stems, and what is flower? How many petals are there, sepals are there, stamens are there? So that is a characterization, preparation of data. And second one, identification. Second aspect is identification. What is identification? Identification is an event by means of which we can judge that the organism was, whether it was already identified or new one. Whether the organism recently identified one was already identified, already classified or not. If it is already identified and classified, you need not to, again, you need not to do the processing of that one. If it is not identified, new one, go through the identification, nomenclature and classify it. Okay, so that is about identification. The purpose of identification is to check whether the identified organism is already identified or completely new one. And third one, nomenclature. So what is nomenclature? Providing a particular name to the identified organism. Okay, so what is the purpose of nomenclature? What is nomenclature? Naming organisms is called as a nomenclature. What is the purpose of nomenclature? Purpose of nomenclature. Nomenclature is concerned. Name is for precise identification of organism. We can identify precise identification of organism. Organism and for communication, better communication. For communication, we can communicate with the help of name only. Easy for communication. Okay, so what about old names? Old names, oldest names, old names, particularly polynomials. Polynomials with many words. Moreover, local names are very problematic. Local names. Local names are vernacular. Vernacular names. For example, in a class, more than two students, more than one student, for example, having same name, Suresh, Suresh. It leads to a lot of confusion or not. Then we should go to surname. Surname also same. A Satish, A Satish. A Suresh, A Suresh. So it leads to what? Confusion. What is the purpose of naming? For better identification and communication. If many students are having same number, we can differentiate them, how to communicate with them. So that's why we have to provide only one scientific name to the identified one. So what is the problem of local names? One, more than one plant. More than one plant with the same name. And the second one, name is variable according to language. It depends on language. India, India, Bharat Mata. See, both are different or not? But these two pertaining to our country only. So like that, it leads to what? For example, the person is not having confusion. For example, cat, పిల్లి అంటాం మనం తెలుగులో, పిల్లి, మార్జాలం, పిల్లి, మార్జాలం. Both are same but different. If I am not aware of marjalam, how can I communicate with some other people? They are not using so-called pilli. They are using marjalam only. And one more Telugu word, that is pauramu, kaputam in Telugu literature. So here the name of one plant is varied from language, region to region, language to language. It is highly variable or not? For example, according to botany, hibiscus rosa sinensis, mandara. We are saying that one as mandara. English name, China rose. Dasani, some other name. So it's variable or not? So it leads to what? Lot of confusion. So, hello, please mute. Please mute. Okay. So local names are illegitimate names. Illegitimate names, illegal. According to botany, they are not valid. Illegitimate means not valid. Not valid. Reason they are overlapping. That leads to what? Confusion. What is the purpose of naming? To avoid confusion. But local names, vernacular names, they are creating a lot of confusion or not. So that's why we have to provide a particular single scientific botanical name which is universally acceptable at any domain, any area, any country, any locality, any language, irrespective of location, caste, or locality, country, state, everywhere. That should be called by only one name. For example, this is a pen. Everywhere, pen only. Pen, whatever the pen or not. Okay, so if it is having different names, it leads to, for example, kalam. Who knows? Okay, right? So each and every organism should be with only one particular name only. Only one name. That must be in one particular language. Should not be subjected to any change. Further modifications, if required, we have to do it. But we have to use only one language with a clear-cut meaning. Okay, so that's why local names, polynomials, as they are not valid, replaced by binomial nomenclature. Okay, so while designing, while framing a name to the identified plant, we have to follow certain number of rules and regulations. These rules and regulations are according to ICBN, International Code of Botanical Nomenclature or Zoological Nomenclature. And we will see that ICBN, ICZN and Botanical Nomenclature tomorrow. Today enough.
Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
Is it clear? We'll see tomorrow. Anyhow,
Sir,
all of you,
Year, sir.
advance, yes, advance. Happy New Year.
Thank you, sir. Same to you.
Convey my wishes to your kith and kin, your parents and your friends all.
Okay, sir.
Okay, we'll be blessed with a medical seat in future. After that,
Thank you,
you
sir.
have to hand over your hospital to me. Diagnostic center.
Cashier, sir. You will be cashier.
Thank you. Just give me treatment. By the time you become a doctor with a hospital, definitely my age will be more than 50. So please provide me free treatment.
Of
Maybe
course, sir.
kidney problem or heart problem or some other
Sir,
problem.
sir,
I need
no,
your
sir,
help.
no, sir. It should not come.
We will be blessed without diseases, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Enjoy a lot. Okay. Bye. See you.
Take care, sir. Bye.
The class is there tomorrow.
Most probably no class. Enjoy the day.
Okay, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Enjoy it. Okay. Bye. See you.
Bye, sir.
Okay, bye.